And we are live on StreamYard. Let me send this out to a few friends. What's today? Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, y'all. Happy last day of September. I don't really acknowledge the end of summer until September has ended. So I guess now that we're moving into spooky season, I have to give up the dream or give up the ghost on summer. Right? But that just gives me more time, to get ready for swimsuit season 2026, right? But that's not what you're here for. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Who's Getting Sued This Week. I am your host, Natalie Pierre Lewis. I am the owner and operator of NPL Consulting LLC, a business formation firm. What that means is I help you get your business paperwork together. So making sure you have your articles of incorporation, your DUNS numbers, your trademarks, your contracts, all of that. But then we also do this show where I teach you the business and legal concepts that you need to know as a business owner. And I use pop culture and celebrity news. So if it's in the headlines, I'm probably going to talk about it. Okay. So we are going to jump right on in. Hold on. Let me see. I got a comment here over here. What is this? Okay. I'm not sure what that's about, but okay. So we're going to jump right into it. Our first story of the evening. How many of y'all shop at Target? If you shop at Target, or now you're not supposed to be shopping there, but if you have ever shopped there, give me a Target emoji. If you have ever shopped at Target prior to this DEI rollback thing, if you ever shopped at Target, give me a Target emoji, right? So as you know, if you ever shop there, Target has, different their own in-store brands for different items, right? And they have a loungewear, they have a sleepwear line that they called Odin, Audn. They had it for a while, they discontinued it, and then they restarted it in 2024, right? So if you go to the sleepwear section at Target, if you're looking for, nightgowns or pajamas, they're probably going to have the brand Odin on them, right? So that's fine. But then there is a brand in Singapore. It is a handbag brand, also called Odin, Audn. This is a high-end handbag brand founded in 2022, so way after Target, but they are known for asymmetrical handbags and they are worn by various celebrities, okay? So Odin in Singapore, they're like, okay, everybody likes our bags. Why don't we come over to the US side and see what's going on? They tried to file a trademark for their brand in the United States for handbags, Audn, but it was opposed by Target. Target said that it is actually, I'm sorry. Target's brand is Auden. Singapore's brand is Aupen. So, Open, the purse, Open is for purses. And then Odin is for sleepwear. So because the Singapore bag company is trying to get their trademark approved in the United States, Target has opposed that trademark because they said Odin is too close to Open, okay? Even with the different spelling. Okay, now remember what I tell you guys about trademarks. You cannot have two of the same name within the same industry, but if they're not in the same industry, you can have it. It's the reason why you can have Dove chocolate and Dove soap, because you're not going to find soap and chocolate on the same shelf, right? So Target is saying, hey, because we make sleepwear under the brand name Oden, we think that these high-end handbags that are called Open should not be allowed to extend their trademark into the United States. So I want to ask you guys as an audience, do you think there is a possibility of confusion between sleepwear that you purchase at Target and high-end handbags? Are you going to mistake sleepwear for handbags? Okay. Now, unfortunately, there has not been a response from Open, the Singapore brand. They haven't responded to the court yet, but they have 60 days to respond. But I would like for you guys to answer that question for me. Are handbags and sleepwear, should they be considered in the same industry? And are you going to find this high-end handbag that is worn by celebrities in Target? Because that's what confusion means. Is the average person who is shopping at Target, are they looking for high-end handbags, or at least genuine high-end handbags? Let me know your thoughts, okay? Ooh, excuse me. Mama is hot, okay? All right. Geographic score, responsiveness is critical, legal pressure. All right, so we're gonna have to wait and see what happens between Target and Open. I think that Open might win this one because I don't. If they extend to the United States, they're probably going to be put in, you know, more like Macy's or Nordstrom's. You're not going to find these handbags that are worn by celebrities at your local Target or your Kohl's, right? So I don't think that Target is going to be able to uphold this opposition, but let me know your thoughts, okay? All right, next one that we are talking about. Okay, do we have any DMX fans in the house? Do we have any DMX fans in the house? If you are familiar with the rapper DMX, just give me a DMX in the comments, okay? Give me a DMX in the comments. And if you're a fan of DMX, give me your favorite DMX song, okay? Let me know. Okay. So, here is what's going on with DMX. Now, we all know DMX, he is or was, I should say, a very popular rapper in the 90s and early 2000s. And he kept the respect of the rap community up until his passing a few years ago, right? Can anybody name any DMX songs for me? Let me know in the comments, right? Anyway, so as we know, DMX passed away recently, but he still has an estate. Although we know that DMX may have had some financial issues, that doesn't mean that he died without assets. Okay. Now, I did not realize this, but DMX had divorced from his wife. Did y'all know that prior to him passing? Did y'all know? Oh, indigenous education. What you really want from a. Yes, right. Did you guys know that DMX had divorced his wife prior to his passing? I did not. I thought they remained married up until he passed. Anyway, his wife, Tashara Simmons, recently filed a legal claim against DMX's estate. Now, when I read that, I was very surprised because I was like, yes, Rough Riders. I was like, why wouldn't his even though she's his ex-wife, who else would be taking care of Earl Simmons' estate, DMX's estate? Was it were did DMX have brothers, siblings, or were his parents still living? Either way, anyway, his ex-wife Tashara Simmons, she filed a lawsuit against his estate seeking 50% ownership of his intellectual property, including his music catalog, copyrights, trademarks, and likeness rights. So his ex-wife, who apparently he divorced prior to passing, she went to the court and said, I want the estate to give me half of Earl's stuff. I want half of the rights. I'm owed half of his copyrights. I'm owed half of his trademarks. I'm owed half the rights for his likeness, right? So she goes to the court and says, run me some stuff. Now, how did she come to this conclusion? Tashira's based her claim on language in their 2016 divorce settlement. Wow. Oh, they got divorced long before he passed, which referenced intellectual property and royalties, interpreting that to imply ownership. So because their divorce settlement said that she was entitled to some royalties and some money from intellectual property, she took that to mean that she had a legal stake in that, meaning she owned part of it. And that wasn't it at all. The judge said the divorce agreement did not grant her ownership of any copyrights, trademarks, or other IP rights. She was only entitled to royalty payments, not co-ownership. Okay. So basically, Tashira, because she had only had royalty rights, she only gets paid if they use DMX's stuff, right? And that's after everybody else gets paid. If she had been given co-ownership, that would mean that she would get to decide who gets to use DMX's stuff. So the court said, no, girl, nobody gave you those rights. They just say you can get a little bit of change, when the stuff is run. So that's why it is very important to understand how intellectual property and copyrights and trademarks and royalties work, so that you understand if you're an owner or if you're just receiving payments. Okay. But we wish DMX left a lot of kids. I hope they okay. Yes. Let's see. Our next story of the she also tried to sue the estate for unpaid child support. I don't know what's going on there. The man passed several years ago, but yeah. This is why it's important for you guys to understand the legal documents that you are getting involved in. Okay. How many of you guys remember the guy, that guy, Martin Shkreli? Martin Shkreli. He was this Weasley looking guy, and he was like the head of a pharmaceutical company, and he jacked up the price for 700%, and he basically, because he could, and he was just being very nasty about it. Do y'all remember? And then he ended up going to prison for some type of fraud. Do y'all remember this Shkreli character? Y'all remember him? Or Martin Shkreli? Okay. Now, before he went to prison, I don't know if you guys remember, Martin Shkreli, he had purchased this one-of-a-kind album that Wu-Tang had put out, right? Hold on. So Wu-Tang put out an album called Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. And the thing was they only made one copy of this, right? And you had to bid for it, and Shkreli won the bid, right? But part of the agreement of winning this album was that you could not make copies. It was supposed to be the only copy, okay? So apparently Martin Shkreli made copies, and they forced him to give back the actual physical copy of the album because he was making copies. Okay. Now, excuse me. So here's what happened. Shkreli publicly admitted to making MP3 copies, played tracks for followers, and taunted people saying, "I have the MP3s," right? And the whole point of the Once Upon in Shaolin album, the whole point of it was that it was supposed to be exclusive. It was supposed to be a singular piece of art. So now, Pleaser Dow, which is the collective that owns the album, they are suing Shkreli for violating that agreement. Okay. They want damages, they want profits, and they want returns of any copies that Shkreli still has. Okay. And this is why these intellectual property rights are important, because part of the deal for Shkreli purchasing this work of art was that he was not going to make copies of it, play it for other people. It was supposed to be this singular piece of art. He violated the copyrights of the originators of that piece of art. So now Shkreli has to go to court. He's going to have to face the owners of the rights to Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. And I don't know how much money he has, because he did go to prison, but they gonna turn that upside down and shake him down for every penny. Thank you, nurse. They're going to shake him down for every penny and copy they can find. But that is to say, when you are purchasing something, if there are stipulations that tie into the intellectual property, to the copyrights, the owner of a piece of art that they create, they are allowed to say what you can do with it because it's their creation. So Martin Shkreli going to have to come up with some money with his little weasel face. Okay? All right. Let's remove him. For those of you just coming in, welcome to Who's Getting Sued This Week. I'm your host, Natalie Pierre-Lewis. We have covered about 2 stories. We still got quite a few more to go. How many of y'all have ever eaten at Popeyes? Okay. How many of y'all have ever eaten at Popeyes? When's the last time you ate at Popeyes? If you have eaten at Popeyes in the last 3 months, give me like a chicken drumstick emoji. If you have eaten at Popeyes within the last 3 months, give me some type of like some type of chicken emoji. Okay. All right. So, so here's my short love affair with Popeyes. So originally I'm from Boston. When I was growing up in Boston, there was no Popeyes. I think by the time I left, we had one Popeyes. So whenever I would come out here to Maryland, for me, Popeyes was like, hey, that was top tier fast food. So I was like, running for the Popeyes. And now that I've lived here, like I can't even process. I think the last time I ate Popeyes, I got sick. And not because, their food is bad, but I just can't process all of that grease anymore. But anyway. But, even without me, Popeyes is doing well. So well that some people are trying to operate Popeyes restaurants without proper authority. Okay. When you have a franchise, when we're like talking about McDonald's, Popeyes, Burger King, all of those things, right? you have to get approval from the higher ups before you open the restaurant. You can't just open a McDonald's, Burger King, or Popeyes, or whatever fast food restaurant or whatever franchise without the permission of the higher ups, right? So in Iowa, a gentleman by the name of Asif Punja, of Jam Equities LLC, he was operating 5 restaurants that were using Popeyes branding, meaning they had the signs, the uniforms, the menu boards, the cups, etc., even though their franchise licenses had been terminated. So they were active Popeyes franchises, but they lost their licenses because they probably weren't adhering to Popeyes standards, and they lost it, right? So when you lose your franchise license, that means that you no longer are allowed to operate as that business, okay? Popeye said that these locations repeatedly failed to meet food safety and brand standards. So that's why they lost their franchise. They wasn't keeping, the food safe. Who knows? Maybe people were getting sick, okay? After attempts to correct the deficiencies, Popeyes terminated the franchise relationships, but the defendants continued to run the restaurants under the Popeyes brand. Okay, so now Popeyes is claiming trademark infringement. They're like, no, no, no. You did not pass our standards, so you do not get to use our name because we are, however you feel about Popeyes, they're like, we have a certain standard for how we keep our restaurants. You guys didn't do it, so you don't get to use our name. Okay. Hold on. Sailor Saint, your question. Yes, that was Martin Shkreli. That is Martin Shkreli. So Martin Shkreli is being sued by the owners who owned Once Upon a Time in Shaolin because he made illegal copies. And they're going to court very soon about that. Okay, so that's why he is the thumbnail. We covered that story, so you may want to rewind if you want to hear the details. Hey, Canna Cape Cod DC. Y'all, it is my girl Canna Cape Cod DC's birthday today. She is the owner of the first all-inclusive cannabis bed and breakfast on the East Coast. If you are on Instagram, give her a follow, Canna Cape Cod DC. It is her birthday, and I would like to introduce you guys to her because she is so awesome. So if you're on Instagram, follow Canna Cape Cod DC. Okay. Now, let's get back to this Popeye story. Okay. So the Asif lost his franchise licenses because the restaurants were nasty. But he kept running the restaurants. You're welcome with the Popeyes name. So now Popeyes is suing him for trademark infringement, breach of contract, and irreparable harm. Trademark infringement because we said to stop using our name because you don't meet our standards. Breach of contract because you were supposed to take all the signs down and you didn't. And irreparable harm because if you're not meeting Popeye's standards and people start complaining about these restaurants, they're not going to see it as your individual franchises. They're going to see it as they're going to see it as a mark on Popeyes as a whole, and that can cause irreparable harm for the brand. Okay, so they are currently suing this person. The Asif has not responded publicly. Who knows what's going to happen, but I don't see it. Popeyes wants them to take down the signs. They might want some money. But again, when you have a franchise, you have to adhere to their standards. Otherwise, you can lose your franchise license, which means that you can no longer use their name. Okay, and it becomes trademark infringement. All right. Okay. Sayla Saint said, only good thing there is the red beans and rice, but they don't make them like they used to. They're all watery now. Girl, I can't even tell you the last time I ate a Popeyes. I can't handle it anymore. Auntie's constitution is very sensitive these days. Okay. Our next story that we are talking about. How many of y'all? Okay, name me a Vivica Fox movie. Name me a Vivica Fox movie. Name me a Vivica Fox movie or TV show. Vivica has Vivica. Listen, Vivica has been on my screen for a very long time, and I feel like that woman. There is not a script in the world that woman would say no to, and that's not a good or a bad thing to me. You know, she likes to work, girl. So I was very, very, very surprised when I came upon this story. Hold on a second. Let me fix this view. Okay. So okay. Hold on. Say last saying said last time I ate at Popeyes was Galveston 2014, but I've seen other people eat it and I was like, nah, I'm cool. I get it. I get it, girl. You know, it's you know, it's a lot of grease. It's a lot of grease. Okay. So a New York-based production company that is working on a reboot of a Nigerian drama has filed suit against Vivica Fox and her agent Sheila Leggett. They claimed Fox accepted payment but never showed up to film the lead role. Okay. So one of the things that I love about streaming services is that we have access to a lot more international media, and I love the movies and TV shows that come specifically from Nigeria and South Africa. And I have noticed recently that that is why she was an Independence Day. Hey, Riri. And I have noticed that some of our American actors are showing up in these Nigerian and South African series. I saw Malik Yoba in one. I always forget her name, but she's the lead in Little Miss Governor on Netflix. I saw her in one. But you know, the quality of media coming out of Africa is chef's kiss, right? And you know, and black actors, you know, as much as we complain about not as much as they say, you know, there's a lot of discrimination within Hollywood here, you know, they're finding work over in Africa, which is awesome. So I guess they hired yes, Vivica and Nollywood would have been a vibe. So they hired her for a Nigerian Yoruba drama. And apparently she never showed up. The agreement was signed in September 2024 by Fox's agent. Vivica was paid $25,000 up front with promises of further payment, meaning 25,000 upon arrival on set and 25,000 upon completion. So she was going to get a total of $75,000 for this role. Okay. Additionally, the agent was supposed to receive a $7,500 agent fee. So I guess like 1% of whatever Vivica's making. Filming had been moved from Nigeria. So they were going to film in Nigeria, and Vivica asked them to come to the US to film. And they said okay. And apparently Vivica still didn't show up. Okay. So the production company says that the losses exceeded $75,000, meaning investments, damage, reputational harm, and they are suing her for breach of contract and unjust enrichment. They want the return of the initial $32,500 paid to Vivica and the agent, and they also want punitive damages. Okay. Neither Vivica or her agent have responded to this lawsuit. But guys, this is why you have contracts written down, right? Because no matter who it is, when you have a signed contract, as long as you signed it of your own volition and you were legally allowed to sign it, you have to uphold your end of the bargain. Now, they cannot force Vivica to star in the movie or in the drama, right? Because you cannot force what it's called specific performance, because then that becomes, that draws the line with slavery. But you can get monetary damages. So money paid and agent, they want that back. The money that they lost moving production from Nigeria to the United States, they want that back. Plus, they're like, you just wasted our time. Run us a coin for that. I'm very I'm very surprised that this is happening with Vivica Fox. Mama will appear at anything. So I'm interested to see how this goes. But her not responding, her and her team not responding, is not a good sign. So again, when you have contracts with people, especially for large amounts of money, you want to make sure that you have everything written down, and that so that you can go to court if something happens. Okay. um but yes, Vivica, run them people back their money. If you don't want to be in the thing, you have to come all the way over here. Okay, let me put this picture down. For those of you just coming in, you are watching Who's Getting Sued This Week, where we learn business and legal tips using excuse me, pop culture and celebrity news. Okay. All right. Next story that we are talking about. How many of you guys have heard about this new AI artist that just got signed? If you have heard of this new AI artist that just got signed, give me an X in the comments, because this artist's name is Zanaya Monet. Now, you may have heard a little bit about this and you're like, how you gonna sign an AI artist? It's not a real person. I'm gonna give you the breakdown. Okay. Basically, there is a lyricist. Her name is Talisha Nikki Jones, and she uses an AI generated persona called Zanaya Monet, using an AI tool, and she signed a deal. Okay. Now, Talisha is writing the lyrics. Okay, let me read this to you. Okay. So she uses the music. She uses Suno to generate vocals, instrumentation, and arrangement. Monet's tracks have gained traction, over 1 million Spotify listens, even though only the lyrics were written by Jones. The rest of the music is AI produced. So Talisha is writing the music. She's writing the lyrics, but the voice is not her. The face is not her. The music, the arrangements are not her. It's all AI generated, right? So now people are like, who owns the music? Because only human authorship qualifies for copyright protection. So Talisha might have copyrights over her lyrics, but there is a big question over who owns the actual songs, right? That she's generating. Now, of course, we know the big money is in the writing. Nobody really makes money off the spins anymore. But this is what do you think about this in terms of what that means for the music industry, right? Because what is it? Zanaya Monet, it's an AI character. If you want to go on tour, all you got to do is put up a screen. Miss Talisha, she's just giving lyrics, right? So what do you think that means, one, for the record labels, and what do you think that means for the artists? For the record labels, I feel like they're going to try and use this to kind of undercut actual live artists, because with an AI generated artist, you don't really have to pay for travel and all that. You just need a hard drive. But and then on the artist side, some Kirk Franklin, no, this is very big tangent. So Kirk Franklin, he writes pretty much all his music, but Kirk Franklin can't sing, right? So if Kirk Franklin had some type of production thing that made Zanaya, maybe he would have made an AI gospel singer or something, right? Just because you can write a song doesn't mean that you can sing. So maybe Talisha, she's like, I don't really get a voice, but I want to get the music. Do you think? What do you think? What effect do you think this is going to have for artists, like the songwriters and the performers and things like that? Okay. Um. All right. So. And the fact that Talisha has gotten this, around $3 million contract, the record company is taking a big risk, because if the music can't be copyrighted because it's not generated by a human, it can't be, it can't be protected, right? So they can use it wherever. Yes. So it's going to be, this is going to be a again, I tell you guys every week, because of the use of AI and because it's getting put into everything, there's going to be so many lawsuits, so many cases trying to define what is human generated content. When can we, what is the line between too much AI assistance? And the thing is, the courts are not in a rush to change the rules because they don't want to make a mistake and have to roll it back. So that is why they move very slow in changing laws. But while Talisha is going to be making that, that writing money, that which is a significant coin, there is still a question as to how are you going to protect the actual music, because the actual music is being produced by an AI tool, right? So, just some questions that we have to be aware of as we lean more and more into AI. Okay. Ooh, excuse me. Okay. Is this last one? Yeah. All right. This is our last story for the night. So at the top of the year, hold on. No, remove. Hold on. Sela said Suno should have an option for users to lease or buy the rights to the instrumentals. Hmm. That's something to think about, Sela. Let me get this last picture in. My voice is crack-a-lacking. All right, my Disney lovers, if you love Mickey Mouse, if you like Disney, give me a D in the comments. Okay. Now, at the top of the year, I told you that Disney's very first iteration of Mickey Mouse, who was called Steamboat Willie, was entering into the public domain, right? Meaning that you could take it and do what you wanted with it. While copyrights and trademarks exist, they only last for so long, specifically copyrights. After a certain amount of time, copyrights expire and things go into the public domain. I don't know if you guys remember that movie Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. The reason that was able to be made was because Pride and Prejudice was in the public domain. Abraham Lincoln and the Vampires, right? All of these kind of old stories are in the public domain, so people can do what they want with them, right? But as we move forward in time, some of our beloved things, they're coming into public domain, like Winnie the Pooh, and Piglet came into the public domain. They made a horror movie out of that. Popeye came into the public domain. They made a horror movie out of that. Um, right? So Steamboat Willie is in the public domain, so people can do what they want with it. But apparently, Disney is not they're not trying to have that. They're not trying to let it go because they're still trying to enforce their trademark and copyright rights over the earliest version, Steamboat Willie. So people are suing over whether Disney can still enforce their rights over Steamboat Willie. Now, here's the issue. Yes, Steamboat Willie, the character itself, it's in the public domain, right? Um, but Disney is trying to enforce rights using trademarks over derivative and modern versions. So some people are, like we talked about that story where there was that online store that was selling Disney jewelry but named it Steamboat Willie or Mickey 1968, but it was very modern looking. So people are trying to use the Steamboat Willie moniker to get around some of Disney's stuff, and Disney's like, no, no, no. But some of them are genuinely just trying to use Steamboat Willie, so they are asking the courts to determine the boundaries of Disney's right. What parts of the original Mickey Mouse are free to use? What parts can Disney continue to enforce? Now, Disney has been enforcing these things, sometimes using the music associated with Steamboat Willie, sometimes with, film, but the actual character in and of itself, if you tried to draw it and sell it, that's something you could do. But you don't want to get into the territory of using the audio and visual stuff around it. Okay. But Disney wants to hold on to this intellectual property because that's how they make their money. So they want to deter as many people as possible from taking advantage of these fair use and public domain things. So they're just trying to be a nuisance in the streets, or at least that's how I take it. But we'll see what the courts say about Disney trying to hold on to Steamboat Willie. But just for specifically for my crafters out there, you want to be careful when you're trying to, venture into that Disney territory. You do not want that smoke with them. Okay. All right. So those were, we finished. Oh shoot. Hold up. Did we do everything? Yes, we did. We did. All right. Yeah. So those were the stories that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. Thank you for spending time with me, no matter how long you spend. Those of you watching the replay, thank you. If you have any questions about anything that we covered tonight, please feel free to DM me as well. If you have any stories that you would like me to cover on future shows, I love it when you guys interact with me. And then, and just to, for my business owners out there, the reason I do this show is to teach you guys the business and legal concepts that you need to know. So, if you are in the process of starting a business or you need some legal help, that's what I do in real life. I am a business attorney. I do trademarks. So you can go to, and wherever you're watching, I have the link for you to book a free 15-minute consultation and we can chat about it. Okay. So take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you next week. I will be splitting these stories up and putting them individually on the YouTube. Okay. Night, y'all. And end.